such a pleasure to be a part on this stage, to be a part of the journey of these 99 incredible women. And that journey is coming to a close soon because we are ready for game number 6, the final game of the Milk Cup Championship. Everyone, I want you to get loud now for these girls to hear you because they deserve it. Let's head on to our casters.
Yes, the final showdown. First place, $75,000, the most amount of money we've seen in a female Fortnite LAN like this. The most amount of money they have probably seen competing. Some of them for their first time this year, some of them even just last year, as young as 14 too. There is some incredible talent here. Big shout out to Gonna Need Milk. Let's get into game 6.
Yeah, Gonna Need Milk, Radiant, EFUs, and of course, Peach Cobbler for helping to coordinate and set up this Milk Cup series. And now knowing that we are about to don our Milk Cup champions, it is just so incredibly awesome to be a part of this moment here with you, Lemon Kiwi, Avali, and Kelly, of course, along with everybody else there in production. But don't want to get too caught up on the oversights just yet because everyone's trying to just close this one out. You have to pretend like you are playing game 6 as though it's your first match of the day.
Yeah, and is anyone going to want to take those big risks? I mean, even last game, we saw a lot more aggression in the earlier zones than we're used to seeing, leading to those big tags and sometimes some big names dropping and getting revived, but also setting your team behind when you can't keep on pace with your routes, when you have to go for a revive or a reboot fan.
The big thing for me, though, is that there is so much pressure, I think, that's got to be mounting onto Moxie, Regs, and Daya because you have somewhat of a commanding lead, but not enough to where you can afford to slip up. They don't have the cushion that they need because of the looming threat that sits in Nina's trio. And so with that in mind, you really can't afford to hit that autopilot moment because I think for a lot of competitors, it's hard not to succumb to that mentality of, oh my gosh, I'm in first. But you have to make sure that you close out the last lobby in first too.
That's the difference, and the most consistent team we've had is Team Moxie with the 3 victory royales, but we'll go and check in with Team Crocs. And they're also on their way to try and really upset the lobby in this one. How they will do it, they are sitting in 28, so now it's just maybe creeping up a couple more spots, which would be big. If they can even get above 20, that's kind of where they've been sitting at. And even just getting a 15th, even a 10th, if they could really peak in this final game, may just get them closer to a bigger cash prize.
I think part of the problem, though, is that Sandy Strip Reclaimed Villa territory it's kind of scraps. You are just so far southwest of the map, it is very difficult to actually spread that loot amongst 3 different players, right? And Inspire, tragically enough, a solo, but we are definitely seeing a lot more action lighting up inside this elimination feed here, Kiwi. I think a lot of these players just kind of recognizing the fact that they've got to kind of turbocharge through these elimination points if they want to try and just move 1 or 2 more placements further forward. Because keep in mind, even when you look at the pricing difference between first and second, it's a $45,000 difference, because first being that 75K, second being 30,000, so a lot at stake here.
And a team like Team Ardup really felt the pressure, and they have just so much potential, but just haven't been able to really encroach on that top 15 area. They had one amazing game too, 8 eliminations, 6th place, that's the Hulk. But I'm looking at Ardup, who I wish they hulked out more, because I thought they had such a good performance at the qualifier, but LAN is a whole different beast.
And with that in mind, though, I think it's definitely been a really impressive performance from a lot of these ladies that are participating here today, especially when you factor in that they've never had LAN experience prior to this Milk Cup event. And so I think that, if anything, this is only going to make them stronger competitors in the future. And I'm very much excited to see what all of our ladies here today are able to kind of do in that Fortnite competitive space moving later on. But CC Nugget, Female Clicks, Canary, they had success. They managed to squeak by into that 5th place position, and it jumped them up a few placements as well on the leaderboard, because the fact of the matter is, Reddish's trio was initially holding down that 5th place position pretty steadily, but that last slip up in the 5th lobby made things incredibly difficult, and now they're gonna have to try and push their way back into that top 5 contention.
Just around the Grand Glacier area, his team Female Clicks, who we said had a later peak, but still one that's appreciated consistently, performing top 10 or above, but their best performance by far was the last game, ending in 5th place. And then it's crunch time once those last couple of zones close in, and just anything can happen in those moments. But just trying to be as efficient as possible with their routing. And still some eliminations coming through of people getting those extra couple of points, which can make a difference in this leaderboard.
CC Nugget just floating overhead of Castle Doom, trying to see if there's any players that might be kind of looking to hover or lurk nearby. It's one of the benefits, though, coming out of Castle Doom. You can always look to prioritize the launch pads hanging out near those mountain scalings. But again, so many teams are going to get involved. R2 doesn't even get a chance to build. She is immediately eliminated.
And Danzy and Seb will have to move on without her, moving towards the south. And I mean, it definitely hurts. It's a dent in the armor for sure, but we've seen duos, aka Millie turned Sophie, who have made the most out of being a duo and are still sitting, Millie and Sophie, and sitting in 4th place in our leaderboard despite coming in as a duo, surprising everyone against all odds.
At least it's early enough that we could still see some possibility for reboot and opportunities to come into play, but again, this lobby definitely thinning at a much more rapid rate than what we have witnessed in the past 5 so far. I think a big part of that, though, just credited towards the fact that this is the end of the line, technically speaking. These ladies know this is the final lobby, so they've got to show up massive here if they hope to just squeeze a few more points, push themselves up on those leaderboards. As Els are rising, Haley, Flaming Boost Tube gonna help them punch forward. Chloe in a whole world of hurt here, hoping that she can have an opportunity to try and get some heals off, but again, Els just barreling across her box on the other side, and it's just such a split position. Chloe's so far away from the rest of her team. She's trying to see if Gabe Al is going to be able to provide some backup support here, and does come through, but now Scare taking the brunt of the damage.
I just love the aggression out of Elsa's team. They were just non-stop on the chase. They will not relent until they get these elims, but it's a Rising brought down to 50 HP and has the items to replenish that, but maybe not the space and time, and namely the piece. There are so many teams at the edge of this zone that know each other's situations are awkward. Now things have settled a bit, still with teams in close proximity. And it's Psycho, Emperor, a dangerous team to try and battle against. We'll try to chase the zone with some teams by their sides. Everyone is quieted down, but no, Emily now has to cover her back, and they gotta just keep going forward.
There is a surprising amount of congestion taking place north of Brawler's Battleground and Redline Rig. It's almost surprising to see that there are 4 trios just stacked on top of each other there for a moment. I'm just amazed at the fact that all of these ladies have managed to encounter each other, but I think, again, that's just credited towards the fact that everyone is rotating much more aggressively because they are trying to find those last-second elimination points. And even better still, you eliminate a trio, that means you're getting a possibility for even more placement points as well.
Yeah. This is as the games have gone on, things have gotten a lot more heated. Now the final game where everyone needs to peak and play their absolute best Fortnite. Now rotating north is Empress team, being a little bit cautious too of the high ground that is in front of them with 2 squads patrolling. Now trying to get some height too is K's team. There's a lot of K's in this tournament, but I guess I'll say Team Scare. But they're
Whichever
not.
K places the highest is the one that gets to hold stake of the K name. That's the rule here.
And they're farming away, so they're fine.
I like that though. Smart out of Davalo, Scare, and Chloe to essentially pivot where they were initially trying to head off of that Flowberry Fizz into the launch pad. Just not worth the risk because they are in a decent position. They're just hovering on the cusp of that top 10 territory, but again, they have a real opportunity if they can continue to perform to actually maybe squeeze by into top 7 or higher. I mean, it really all depends. We have seen those pop-off moments ahead of those ladies. It's just about getting that repeat consistency.
I'd love to see, I mean, Team Leafa have been really consistent, except Leah just got all of her shields cracked, and she needs support, and Edis and Leafa are doing their best to do just that, but also not become victims themselves, and to stay on the path and leave Leah behind.
It's part of the problem, though, when you're making these rotates with your team, when you get a little bit too split from each other, and then you have to keep in mind, too, Sep, she lost our dupe earlier on, so she's probably coming from a dead side spot that Leah and them just were not expecting. Eternity reaching a similar encounter here, just picked apart by a separate trio, and it just goes to show you cannot afford to be a straggler in this environment.
I know Taku's team has had issues with these unlucky early drops of usually playing with a woman down this early. It's been disadvantageous for them, and now being found by a trio playing at the edge of the zone, and Altena's trying to do her best to get around it, and she has some health and time to play around, but this squad is going to be patrolling and maybe marking where she is and just closing her out very soon.
This squad's about to be so happy if they actually do eliminate Altena, because she has so many mats that I couldn't imagine a better position to be in for split material counts. And sure enough, 3 versus 1 scenario. This could be a bingo board moment, but Altena, I don't think she's gonna get a chance to fight back. It's Cat Attack, Spy, and Sailor Nat looking to make up for some lost time. This trio has struggled throughout the course of the day, and Cat Attacks has done everything in her power to make sure that she can maintain such a strong position. But again, boxed up, trying to make sure that she can punch through. Sailor Nat, she finds the opening. She's trying to crawl up and over these builds, but for a moment longer, Alarming Amber gonna manage to not keep the dream alive. She gets eliminated in the process.
And the dream was alive for Alarming Amber's team, who found themselves at the top of our standings early on in this tournament. Now eventually have fallen to 14th place, just the competition heating up in these last couple of games. But we go and check in with Cat Attacks now with a full trio. Previous games, not so lucky. Cat has been a lone wolf, but this is a different game, and now catching Emperor's team out in the open will do a bit of tag damage, but something they can easily leave from now satisfied.
But this is what I wanted to see from Cat Attack's trio so much earlier on than Game 6 of today. Where was this exuberance of confidence and aggressive play throughout the course of our matches earlier on? Granted, it could just be the result of maybe some of our other teams looking to play a little bit more loosely because they feel I'm already in the bottom half of the leaderboard. I don't have nearly as much opportunity to try and overthrow. But again, I think that this is a prime example of what I mean by it's not about how you start, it's about how you close on the day.
Absolutely. Vader, Nina, Vanessa take to the skies with Team Maddie right below them, but just trying to wiggle as much as possible to not be an easy target, but not wanting to be a team they maybe engage as the Rift Island to the south. Not interesting to a team like Vader and Nina. We're happy to farm mats here in Railways, and they have, I mean, the items, the ammo, so they don't need that island. They don't need to take that risk.
3 eliminations, though, tells me that Nina, Vanessa, and Vader have definitely recognized the fact that it's not going to be enough to just get a victory royale in this final lobby. They need the eliminations to go with it if they truly have the intentions to overthrow our first place team of Moxie's trio. The XZ ladies are Mexican menaces. I called them menaces earlier on in the day, but the way that they've been playing so far, they have been devious hitting licks on this lobby.
And they are so confident, and they just love to represent that flag too. So many times we pan to their jerseys, they're pointing at that that flag exactly. I'm excited to see the culmination of this final game as everyone settled. Once they get mats, it'll be a battle for the high ground once the later zones come in. And the threshold, not as much of a factor at this point of the game, still with 28 squads left.
It's going to be Nina actually holding on to that mythic Sovereign shotgun for the time being as they begin to make their approach, probably contemplating whether or not they want to try and base up in a spot with a little bit more elevation, because without that knowledge of the forecast tower, it can be difficult to dictate where you actually want to go, because you commit too many mats towards the high ground and then the zone pulls back down the mountain face. You find yourself in a really difficult position to work your way out. But do you think that the halfway measure, like Vader, Nina, and Vanessa are currently in control of, a smart initiative to start with?
Team Nina sitting in second place, still need to approach this game like it's their first and not underestimate any competition and just really lock in, because I know it's been a long 6 games that they've had to deal with, and stamina really comes into play in a LAN environment. You're not at home, it's not as comfortable, and the pressure is on of how you can end the day, how you can end the biggest tournament of your career. As we go and check in with DJ Lovely, spotting some targets at a distance, just trying to get above this damage threshold.
Oof. It's not even the damage threshold I'm trying to factor in right now, Lemon. It's the fact that DJ Lovely has quite literally 0 ammunition, essentially. They need a refresh. They need to find some form of ammo even. But it's a clash. First and second place. Daya, Regs, Moxie. They've encountered Vader, Nina, and Vanessa. This could be it. It could be for all the marbles right now, Kiwi.
And this could change our standings drastically. It's all about playing off of that ping of the reveal, and the threshold will come into play just 3 below. But Daya and friends trying to find some height. Vader down below, breaking down the walls and now editing their way to get an angle on this team, but this is not an isolated duel. As Daya breaks it down, there's a knock on Vader, and Daya's in maybe a perilous position. She's handling it well, and Vader's eliminated.
Vader being the first to fall puts so much pressure now onto Nina. Nina's already lost her shield entirely. Daya just punching through, but she has to reload. She pulls out her striker burst, and fortunately, she's still got Moxie right behind her. Teamwork makes the dream work here. Our first place team, they've got one more player to hunt out, and currently Daya, Regs, Moxie, more than content with their prize.
Oh, what a high stakes battle to have at this point of the game when there's still 26 teams left, and we're not even out of the woods yet as the zone pulls. Man, these teams are not pulling away from danger whatsoever. They face it head on. But now a team like Wonka is gonna let all this fire continue as they try to just hide away from it. And there continues to be knock after knock in the feed, players falling like flies. And this is a moment for a team like Weezer Wonka to benefit and just sit tight.
More importantly though, Kiwi, the fact that we saw first and second place go head to head, and I'm still seeing Vanessa try to find eliminations. The fact that she managed to escape such a grim position and still keep trying to claw her way through. Don't think she's gonna have an opportunity to go for the reboot ban, but at the very least, she could try to buy Pine for more placement points. As Crocs and Suggs, Weezer Wonka, they're gonna look to try and hold down the fort here at Reckless Railways inside of the Grand Rail Station. But now that scan just gone off, reveal medallion. They know exactly who's lurking nearby.
And there's still Team Somerset in the vicinity to our number 3 team. There's a lot of talent converging at a point in the game you cannot afford to fall on. And Weezer Wonka able to deal with this issue quite promptly as we say goodbye to Nisui for the moment. And now you don't have Sweets, just Weezer Wonka and Crocs against the world. And at least they're in a good position for mats when it comes to wood, but they need to just get as much as possible for the end game.
Some of these trios, though, beginning to be left in tatters as they are losing members of their team left, right, and center. Weezer Wonka, Crocs, and Socks, they know that they are surrounding themselves inside of this Reckless Railways Grand Station with the armored walls, and now they're gonna have to follow suit with the rotates that everybody else is moving forward. You can see the paranoia coming into play even. Weezer Wonka frequently checking behind her. She knows that there's still a player, possibly even a team, that could completely surprise attack here, but she doesn't have a choice. She has to stay ahead.
Oh, now the damage threshold is gonna come into play for our players, and well, 400 above is a good spot for Weezer Wonka, especially when you're just a duo left, but now they get to just add more to the tally. Now getting a refresh to Siphon, but now you have to race against the storm, the zone closing in, forcing you to be out in the open, but no fire coming Weezer Wonka's way.
There's practically nowhere to hide either. Northwest of Reckless Railways, it's a relatively open terrain. It's all gonna come down to what is your material count looking like at this stage. And right now, for Daya, Regs, and Moxie, they could probably use a little bit more, but they have the luxury of so much damage above that threshold. All they need to do is push everybody else back.
Such a devious smile too from Daya. She is confident, she's feeling herself, and they only have targets in their way. They want to claim them one by one. And they're not really taking too much damage. It's really the storm that's been their biggest enemy. And they're carving their path step by step, and they're so above the damage threshold. It's everyone else that's forced to make a move, and it's female Clicks herself and Cece who just got knocked, and Maddie knocked, Emperor eliminated. A lot of big players falling out in game 6.
That quick little touch up though from Daya, she glanced back and up. She noticed there is a team currently trying to potentially take control of height, but for Daya, Regs, Moxie, they fully understand all we've got to do is head towards front side of zone, and then height will be ours to command. Because now they make the move forward. Daya gonna be the last one to sit behind momentarily, but she's following suit. Yasmin frantic Somerset though, a lot, almost 2,000 damage above on the threshold range, and not only that, but 7 eliminations as well. Lemon Kiwi, I think they're trying to make a last-ditch effort to push into second place.
It'll take a lot of effort, but a team like Somerset, they've bounced back from worse positions, from a 13th place finish in game 1 to a victory royale in game 2. One of the most resilient teams that we've had here. Team Somerset hope to challenge that second place spot. Maddie knocked. Psycho eliminate, Maddie eliminated. This is coming down to our final 15 squads, and now it's about getting height. Frantic Somerset, Yasmin taking their time with it, now starting to break down walls. 3, 2, 1, just calling down, all focusing fire in one direction. And now Lena just lost all her health. All the teams are barely standing on their feet. They may not even be full trios as much anymore.
Daya, Regs, and Moxie, this is the most, or one of the most difficult situations that we've seen them in throughout the course of our 6 lobbies here today. But if there's any trio that could look to clutch up from this type of circumstance and find a last-minute refresh, I would definitely bank on Daya, Regs, and Moxie. But Daya, she's got to connect. She has the Mythic Sovereign. She's probably one of the leading hopes here for Moxie's trio to try and overthrow, and she finds it. Mani gonna fall, but at a cost. Daya herself taking down in return.
And this is just way too hectic. I don't know if Daya can be saved in this moment. They're definitely considering their chances, but they think too long. They get surrounded, they get conquered. A huge elimination coming out of Botley, and Kanari still lives on for Team Female Clicks. And Team Moxie herself, the last one remaining from that #1 team. 13 squads left.
Look, we already know that Moxie's trio are gonna be our Milk Cup champions, but what matters at this stage, Lemon Kiwi, is that if Moxie falls, this is gonna open the doorway, and she's still packing a punch. Reddish eliminated at Moxie's feet. And again, Somerset, Frantic, Yasmin, they could look to be the team on height. They could look to shut this down and get their second victory royale. Vanessa, Vader, Nina having to watch in terror as these other players continue to surge around them.
Oh, Moxie's just a pro. Her piece control, handling duels, the isolations. Moxie holding it down for her team. Our top 10, and our zone is ever so smaller. Look at how Moxie maneuvers and deals with the pressure, knows when and how to engage. Now Millie low, right below Moxie. As Moxie waits for her moment to maybe drop down or hold at this layer. It would be dangerous to drop as Moxie wants to keep the advantage while following the zone.
Come on, Moxie bot, show us what you've got. 6 eliminations, that reveal medallion still underneath her belt. She's got the gatekeeper primed and ready. She's gonna drop to the low ground. She's isolated a solo. It's gonna be Canary, and that's another refresh. That's another siphon count. That's even more material. Moxie continuing to make the impossible unfold.
Oh, and she may want to drop some players from that high ground, shooting down the floors, but Moxie has to cover all her angles. But it's Moxie hoping to pave the way with her competition below her feet. Our top 5 in our final game of our Milk Cup championship with $75,000 going to first place as Moxie needs a second to get her shields back up. She is surrounded by teams. She is a solo and she is independent. She doesn't care who's on the other side.
She's gonna look to play for the med kits in these final moments. Somerset, though, seems to be wary of the fact that Moxie's directly behind her, and it's a solo, which means we just drop. Millie actually gonna be the one credited towards that elimination onto Moxie, but the damage has been done. Somerset, Yasmin, frantic. They're looking to bring this one home.
Team Somerset looking for another victory royale, their second of the tournament. Could this be what steals away second place? Could they propel themselves higher and higher as Somerset's trying to do literally just that? Now just down to a duo though, Somerset and Yasmin. Lost frantic in this engagement just against 2 other players, able to get fully replenished and all the resources. It's a dance in the zone. It's a tango that you do not want to be with if you see Somerset and Yasmin on the other side.
It's a 1 versus 2 though, and Mari's elimination credit's gonna mean another siphon refresh, even though it wasn't necessary at this stage. Somerset, Yasmin, just waiting their sweet time, and they see player fly overhead. Smiley, could she clutch it up? Smiley gets a big knock, and Somerset's gonna fall. A massive refresh right in the nick of time. Smiley, she just needs 1 more to win this one out.
Smiley, but she is mean in the game. 1v1 for the final victory royale, coming down to a heel off. And Yasmin, Smiley, who will be first to fall? It's Yasmin seeming in a less healthier position. Smiley keeping up with the heels at a distance. They're not looking to engage. It all comes down to these final moments. And Yasmin, she's just falling just below. They're actually at the same amount of health. Yasmin with a little bit more shield.
Storm Sickness could potentially come into play here. Yasmin's trying to close in. Smiley might just have done it, and Yasmin is out. Smiley clutches it up. A 1 versus 2, and Smiley didn't even care. Beautiful competition.
And the first victory royale of their tournament at the end of the road. Everyone staying past curfew to make sure they're on their feet for this team. The end of a journey of so many months. Everyone so excited to be here as a community. As Team Smiley, they were at 5th in the leaderboard, wondering if this would be enough to even get to 4th, but it doesn't matter. A victory royale on a stage as big as this is a statement.